Good morning. Good morning from just outside of London. We've got about 130 people here, Devi, to hear you, and they're going to be thrilled because I've heard you a couple of times, and they've really got a treat in store. Thank you so much for hanging on. I can see you in your operating fatigues, so that means you're very busy. So we're very pleased and we're very interested to hear what you have to say. We're facing a 4% efficiency target for the next indefinite number of years, and so we'd really like some inspiration from you, Devi, as to how we might achieve it. So I'll hand you over now and we'll take some questions at the end. Thanks so much.
I would like to just explain to you about all the activities we are involved with in the area of heart surgery. You can draw conclusions based on what we have done with the heart. Our target is to do the heart operation for $800 from the point of admission to point of discharge. Right now, we are able to break even with $1,300 to $1,400. We run a chain of heart hospitals across the country, and we are in 11 cities, and we have now close to 6,000 beds. We believe that economy of 21st century will be driven by the healthcare industry. 20th century was driven by machines which address the human toil, and 21st century economy will be driven by healthcare industry. Yes, yes. We believe that job creation is important for the economic growth and the social stability. Healthcare is one industry which creates jobs for extremely skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled people. Today, healthcare and wellness industry is a $4.5 trillion industry. It is the second largest industry in the world after agro industry. And in my country, IT industry gets large benefits from the government. But for a $250,000 turnover in IT industry, they hire just 4 to 7 people. Whereas a $250,000 turnover in healthcare industry, we hire 250 people. This is the power of health sector to create a job which is desperately required to bring the world out of recession. In England, the National Health Service is the main driver of the economy of Britain. National Health Service distributes £5 billion of salary for 1.7 million households. With that money, people buy their food, they educate their children, they pay for the mortgage. So economy of England is revolving around NHS. NHS, other than making country healthy, it also keeps the economic engine of England going. 75% of the Fortune 50 companies in the world are in healthcare directly or indirectly. So policymakers must understand that healthcare industry is extremely important for driving the economy of the world. We believe that India will become the first country in the world to dissociate healthcare from affluence. When I was a young medical doctor, a young medical student, our policymakers told us that healthcare is expensive, it will remain expensive. But one day, India will become a rich country and everyone can afford healthcare. But when I grew up, we looked at the richest countries in the world, like England and US, which is struggling to offer healthcare to the citizens. So if a country like India becomes affluent, that will not get translated into affordable healthcare to everyone. We have to change the model of delivering healthcare. We can do it mainly because we produce the largest number of doctors in the world. We produce the largest number of nurses and medical technicians in the world. Outside US, we have the largest number of US FDA-approved drug manufacturing units. Unfortunately, none of the good things in my country happens by planning. Everything good happens by default. And if there is one country which is directly managed by God, that is my country. Indians are genetically 3 times more vulnerable for heart disease than Europeans. In England, when I used to work there, the average age of my patients was 65. You know, the disease of the retired people. In India, the average age of my patient is 45. We produce 28 million babies a year. We produce about 600 to 800 children a day with the heart disease. And consequence is that we need to do 2.5 million heart surgeries a year. That is the number what is required. Unfortunately, all the heart hospitals in the country put together perform less than 90,000 heart operations a year. And the rest die gradually over a period of time. Now, don't take pity on India alone. First heart surgery was done 100 years ago. 100 years later, less than 10% of the world's population can afford heart operation. Less than 10% of the world's population can afford any major operation on the brain or a joint replacement or an advanced cancer surgery. There is a crisis in healthcare across the world, and this crisis is because policymakers believe that taxpayers' money can pay for the healthcare. Taxpayers' money cannot pay for the healthcare. Taxpayers' money could pay for the healthcare in the past when people retired at the age of 60 and they died at the age of 65. Today, people retire at the age of 60 and they celebrate 95th birthday. People are going to live longer not working than working. Then where is the taxpayers' money going to pay for the healthcare? We have to look at a different model of delivering healthcare. Around 9 years ago, we convinced the state of Karnataka to launch a health insurance called Yashaswini. This is based on the concept that poor people in isolation are weak, but together they are very strong. We convinced 1.7 million farmers who are members of cooperative society to contribute 11 cents per month. And for 11 cents, our state government contributed 7 cents. And the government agreed to become a reinsurer, and we created a trust. Now, you will be wondering, how is it viable to run a health insurance with 11 cents? Yashaswini pays only for the surgeries, and statistically, only 0.8% of the covered population will require operation. There is no fraud in this insurance because nobody wants surgery even if it is free. Yashaswini pays only for the surgeries. There is no administrative cost, and we network with 400 hospitals across the state where there was underutilized operation theatre, which was made good. We believe that gradually government will become a health insurance provider, because looking at the success of Yashaswini, our neighboring government called neighboring state called Andhra Pradesh launched an insurance called Rajiv Arogya Shri. Then look, the political party came back to power with the power of this insurance with thumping majority. Looking at the success of that program, our next door neighbor government called Tamil Nadu, they launched a similar insurance under the name of their leader called Kalangar Insurance. Then our own state launched an insurance called Vajpayee Arogya Shri. Essentially, you can see all these schemes have the name of political leaders. And we believe that politicians across the world do the right thing for the wrong reasons. And we believe all the state governments will eventually become health insurance providers. We are now trying to bring about a policy in our country. We have 750 million Indians who are spending 150 rupees per month just to speak on the mobile phone. And we are trying to convince the policymakers to collect 10 rupees extra every month from the mobile phone premium, and we can offer health insurance for 750 million people. This is what we are trying to do. Essentially, this world doesn't need a magic pill or a fastest scanner or a new operation. This world requires a mechanism to deliver what is already developed for 90% of the deprived population. So we built a concept 10 years ago called Health City. This is a picture of Health City where I'm sitting and talking to you. We have 3,000 beds in this campus. We have 4 hospitals, and we get an outpatient of 3,000 patients per day. Our target is to have 12,000 outpatients per day. Currently, we do about 35 major heart surgeries in a single day. Our target is to do 60 major heart surgeries in a day. When we can do 60 major heart surgeries in a day, we will be able to do a major heart operation for $800. We get children from 76 countries, and it's a policy by the management never to refuse a surgery on a child irrespective of their paying capacity. Now, why we want to build 5,000 bed health cities? Because as we do more operations, we get better and our cost goes down. We also have a joint venture with the Indian Space Research Organization, which gives the satellite connection free of cost. We have treated over 53,000 heart patients in remote locations in India and Africa free of cost. When we started doing liver transplants on children, the anesthesia for liver transplant was provided by Children's Hospitals of Philadelphia through the satellite connectivity. This is the model of a 300-bed heart hospital which will be built with $6 million and in 6 months. There are 100 towns in India with a population of 500,000 to 1 million where there is no heart hospital. They cannot afford a very expensive heart hospital. So we worked with India's largest construction company, which came up with this model of low-cost heart hospital, which is built with the prefabricated material, so you can erect the hospital in 6 months. The entire cost of this building, including equipment, is $6 million. We believe that with this model, we can reduce the cost of heart operation significantly. Our intention is to add 30,000 beds of this low-cost model across the country. We are doing dialysis for around $15 per dialysis. Our target is to do dialysis for $10. Currently, we perform the largest number of dialysis in the country, and we have a collaboration with the dialysis equipment manufacturer. Now, you are wondering how we are able to reduce the cost to this level. We have invested heavily on technology and information systems. We have a very advanced ERP solution from Oracle, which is on cloud, and we have 14 hospitals across the country, and every day at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, all the senior doctors, all the senior administrators get a SMS with a profit and loss account of the previous day. We know exactly what was the revenue the previous day, what are the expenses, and what is the EBITDA margin. We believe that unless you have the financial information on a real-time basis, you cannot reduce the cost. Looking at the balance sheet, looking at the profit and loss account on a daily basis gives you the diagnosis to change things. Whereas if you look at the P&L account at the end of the month, it is like looking at the post-mortem report. Patient is dead, you can't do anything about it. We believe that the charity is not scalable, whereas a good business concepts are scalable. We have 12,000 employees across the country, and 94% of our employees are women. As a policy, we give jobs primarily for women, mainly because if I have the job of cleaning the floor, I give the job to the man and give him 4,000 rupees salary. He spends 2,000 rupees on himself, and 2,000 rupees goes to the family's welfare. If I give the job to his wife and give her 4,000 rupees salary, she spends entire 4,000 rupees on the family's welfare. And a woman who comes from a lower socio-economic strata, when she becomes an employed woman, she will become an empowered woman who will discipline the children, and these children, when they grow up, will build a great nation. I would like to end my talk by making a statement that cost of healthcare will not reduce in the US and Europe unless Asia and Africa becomes a healthcare market. Now you'll be wondering what relationship your healthcare cost has to our healthcare cost in Asia and Africa. I would like to ask you a question. Why mobile phones are so cheap in US and Europe today compared to 20 years ago? It is cheap today because 750 million Indians keep buying mobile phones. That is why mobile phones are cheap for you. When we become a healthcare market, the cost of healthcare in your country will go down. So I just want to end my talk, and if there is any question, please feel free to ask.